Hi, thank you for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to continue the exercise in which I present you with several sentences, and within those sentences I've embedded multiple mistakes that I'll ask you to pause the video, make those corrections or make your corrections, and then resume the video so that we can review it together to see how your corrections align with my own. Prior to getting started, if you would do me a favor and like the video if it's helpful for you, and subscribe to the channel to help with the YouTube algorithm and allowing me to reach others, and hopefully in doing so collaborate with other teachers both domestic and worldwide to be able to produce content that's free for not only teachers to use in their own classroom but for students of English to use during their personal time to help bolster language learning. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the first sentence. Excuse me. All right, here I'll read it. It says, Mike's cruise to the Virgin Islands were his first vacation in 6 years, except for long weekends. Multiple corrections. Pause the video, make those corrections, and then of course resume and we will review it together. Excuse me. Gosh, it's dry. Okie doke. Let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to scan as with anything at the beginning. Here we have Mike, or Mike's in this case. It's a proper noun. It's also the beginning of a sentence. Therefore, it does need to be capitalized, which it is. That looks fine. But we have Mike's cruise. Now here you can tell that the cruise in question is in possession, or rather Mike is in possession of the cruise. It's his cruise that he's obviously going on, which is like a large boat on the ocean if you weren't aware. Therefore, to show ownership, I'm going to go ahead and follow the rule of inserting an apostrophe S to the end of that noun to showcase said possession. So it should read Mike apostrophe S, let me make that a little bit more clear, cruise, as opposed to Mike's, which is just S attached to the word Mike, which then goes from singular Mike, singular individual, to multiple Mikes. All right, Mike's cruise to the Virgin Islands, pause right there, Virgin Islands. It's the name of a certain group of islands, which makes it a proper noun. Therefore, following the English rules, I will need to capitalize both proper nouns. So the Virgin Islands were his first vacation, Mike's cruise to the Virgin Islands were his first vacation in 6 years. Take a quick look at the tense for the word were. It shouldn't read were, instead it should read was. So I'll go back and reread the sentence. Mike's cruise to the Virgin Islands was his first vacation in 6 years. Pause. Except, and here's an example of what's called a homophone, which is a word that sounds exactly like another that is spelled differently, and they also possess different meanings. So except, we're looking for a word like exceptional, or an exception in this case is the word I'm looking for, but instead of exception, I'm going to write it as except. So it shouldn't be A-C-C-E-P-T, which means you are admitting something voluntarily, or you are willingly adopting something like I accept what you say is true. Instead, we're looking for the except, like exception. Except for long weekends, period. And I believe, not being able to see any other mistakes to correct, we'll go ahead and shift on into the second sentence. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. In this sentence, I'll read, unleashed dogs aren't never allowed on the beach during daylight hours. Go ahead, pause the video, make those corrections, and resume so that we can go through it together. Forgive me. Okay, scanning the beginning of the sentence, which is where you should always start. I see the word unleashed, which is lowercase, but since it's the beginning of a sentence, I know to capitalize it. All right, unleashed dogs, un being the prefix meaning not, leashed being the operative term for, when a dog or a pet has a leash or a tether to its owner. I'm not going to dive too deep into that. I just wanted to take note of the fact that there is a prefix attached to the word leashed, meaning not leashed. So unleashed dogs, plural, we're talking about plurals, aren't never, and here you'll see we have what's called a double negative. Aren't never would cancel each other out, which means they are allowed. Instead, it should read, unleashed dogs are never, rather than aren't, since aren't is a contraction of the words are plus not. And if I were to read the sentence with that contraction expanded, it would read, unleashed dogs are not never allowed on the beach during daylight hours, which doesn't make sense. So I guess you can kind of play around with it. If instead you said unleashed dogs and then just get rid of that word altogether, unleashed dogs are never allowed on the beach during daylight hours, that would work. However, if you decided, oh, we'll write aren't and then ever allowed on the beach during daylight hours, that would work. Or are never allowed on the beach during daylight hours, that also works. So there's a few different ways you could have done this. All right, now it's just a whole mess, I apologize. So unleashed dogs are never, let me switch to my correct tool, are never, sorry, I'm getting used to this, are never allowed on the beach. Beach is its own word, and for whatever reason, it's sitting right beside the word during, so those two should be separated. So beach and then during. I think that's more of a formatting issue on my end. Daylight, hours, daylight is a compound word, so that's fine. Hours, again, another example of a homophone, sounds exactly like another word, the one that it should be written as, which is hours, the sense of time, as opposed to hours, which is like a collective ownership. So, oh, in period, of course, you want to end this statement with a period. All right, let's go ahead and transition into our third sentence. All right, I'll read it. Whenever Patrick eated bread too quick, he got really bad hiccups. Again, pause the video, make your corrections, and resume as soon as you're ready. Okie doke, let's jump straight in. Looking at the beginning, I can see that we are starting with a capital. It is also spelled correctly, so whenever Patrick, proper noun, spelled, well, again, with names, you're given more of an allowance. Names, how should I say, are given a little bit more grace in terms of their spelling. They can vary quite widely, but for now we'll just say that it's spelled correctly and it's capitalized as a proper noun. So whenever Patrick eated bread, the past tense of eat is an irregular, so it needs to be spelled differently, and in this case it should be spelled ate as ate. So whenever Patrick eated, so you won't add ed to the end of it to make it past tense. Instead, because it's irregular, you change the spelling altogether, like I said. So whenever Patrick ate bread too quick, okay, too shows, it's an adverb. It shows you the extent of something, which is fine. Quick, I would also convert this into its adverb form by adding ly to the end of it. So it should read, or ideally you would have it read, whenever Patrick ate bread too quickly, he got really bad hiccups. Period. I'm not seeing any other issues. Again, you may have encountered some corrections that I may have missed, or perhaps formatting choices that I may have also excused from this example. You're more than welcome to go ahead and leave those alternatives in the comment section below, just to kind of get a feel for where you're at. And I apologize in advance, I've got two cats hovering around me, and you can likely hear them meowing. Mr. Chunks, later. All right, final sentence. Number 4. Think my dad is our local basketball team. Think my dad is our local basketball's team loyalist fan. Again, that's a formatting issue on my end. Team should really be written together. So I'm just gonna, for the sake of it, before you get started, let's figure out how to use this first. Let me just change this out. I'll use black, change it out, and I'll just write team. Oh, come on. Very sensitive pen. If it's gonna work for me at all. Team, there you go. All right, now please resume the video, or excuse me, pause the video, make your corrections, and resume so we can go over it together. Okay, so again, starting at the beginning, we can see that the first word of the sentence is lowercase, which obviously is a mistake, and we'll need to capitalize it, which I'll do now. So think my dad is our local basketball's team loyalist fan. Before we jump into the mess that you heard further down, I do want to acknowledge the fact that there's really no subject here. I know I'm referring to my dad, but there's no reference to the subject pronoun I, in this case, the reflexive pronoun. So I should be inserted as a part of the subject. So I think, so I being the subject, think my dad is our local, spelled incorrectly, should be L-O-C-A-L, basketballs team. Notice that with the apostrophe S, it's showing that basketball is in possession of the team, which is incorrect. It's the team in possession of their loyalist fan. So it should be basketball, no S, no apostrophe S, no S, nothing. Basketball team, apostrophe S, loyalist, fan, period. And that's how it should be written correctly, ideally. All right, let me go ahead and stop recording. Did it save? Yes, it did. All right, perfect. Again, if you would be so kind as to like the video if you found it helpful, and also subscribe to the channel, again, to aid in allowing me to reach others through the YouTube algorithm. It would benefit me a lot. I would appreciate it. All right, for now, I will see you in the next one.